On this episode of ResiWeek, we talk HTSA highlighting lighting, Airzone's new KNX Ado, and content is king. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek. This is ResiWeek, episode 455, Underserved Designs. Welcome to this episode of ResiWeek. This is your weekly roundup of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matt D. Scott for AVNation.tv, and this week I am pleased to be joined by two of my good friends. First, we have Victoria Garcia Massimo. She's the operations manager for Americas from Airzone. How you doing, Victoria?
Hi, Matt. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And then we've got my good friend, Mr. Ron Callis. He's the CEO of One Firefly. How you doing, Ron?
Hey, Matt. Good to be back. Happy to be here.
Thank you both for being here. We've got the Florida team today. So we're going to kick off some fun things. This comes to us from CE Pro. HTSA is highlighting lighting as a key growth driver for home integrators. In their fall conference, they found that lighting was the key growth factor that's helping integrators get involved in projects earlier and increasing the bottom line and the profitability of those projects. So go read through the article. It covers a lot of great stuff in there about HTA's information that they pulled out of their membership and how lighting is affecting those members' businesses. But Victoria, let me start with you on this one. How do you go about, if you're going to get into the lighting realm or any new vertical, how do integrators go about getting buy-in from their team internally for that new vertical, but also from their customer base to show that they've got, the knowledge base and the know-how to actually sell what they're trying to pitch?
Well, I believe that lighting may not be that hard to pitch because it's what people can see, what they can feel, right? So, and there are plenty of options. There are plenty of routes from the most expensive and high-end lighting, the Ketras from Lutron and all that, to very simple light bulbs that you can buy from whatever, Home Depot, Amazon, and you can just change the color, and you can control it from the phone. So I believe that in general, the lighting is a very interesting market, a very interesting industry, and a good way to enter into the home automation world. Actually, that's how I probably started with, just a smart light bulb at home, and then maybe got interested into getting into other things. But I may be wrong because I'm not in the lighting market, of course, but I believe that is not as hard to show and to make customers understand the importance of right lighting.
Yeah, that's a great point. Ron, Victoria made a really key point that's one of the few things that customers have a ton of experience with in our business. The question that I always come back to is, how do you prove that you've got something different when you come to offer lighting? Because if you're offering what the big box stores have or what the electricians have, and worse, if you're only offering kind of the same, we're going to throw four in each corner, or, four in the room in each corner, the same way the electricians do. Yes, you're offering a new product and a new, vertical, but you're not necessarily adding to that conversation. How do you go about determining a way to stand above the crowd with your lighting offerings?
Yeah, what so many integrators listening will probably agree with is they'll go into these multi-million-dollar homes where a tremendous attention is paid to the kitchen, the appliances, the counter surfaces, the doors and the windows, the cabinetry. And yet you'll look up and, as you just said, you'll see 4 cans and a fan, or, $20 Seagull lighting cans. The cheapest of the cheap, not to pick on Seagull. That's what I had in my house. That's why I'm naming them. And it's such an underserved area. So often the architect is putting the most basic of lighting plans down for electrical to ultimately get stamps to move projects forward. So often the electrical contractors are putting the lowest common denominator, or unfortunately, the underserved design and lowest common denominator hardware into a project. And yet, if a consumer is presented with an option, a better set of options, which often for lighting you have to experience. So in many cases, integrators are selling lighting and good fixtures, good design by empowering the customer to experience those environments, whether in their showroom or at an example project. It often is an area that once a customer experiences it, they're absolutely willing to upgrade and get a proper design done, get better fixtures and hardware. And for the integrator, it gets them into the project so much earlier. I mean, it's such a smart, if you just look strategically at a type of technology or solution to provide, lighting is involved in the project at the earliest stages of a project. Whereas if you're only selling audio and video gear, you often are brought in, you could be brought in, unfortunately, much later in the project. And so, yeah, it's awesome to see what's happening with lighting. I appreciate this article is coming from one of the writers attending the HTSA conference. HTSA was on this very early. I mean, they hired Tom Doherty back in 2017. They got on, they were, I would say, the horse that was first out of the gate in terms of jumping on this category and really raising awareness for the industry. And now all the other groups and CEDIA are catching up. You're seeing more and more lighting manufacturers and vendors join all the groups and join CEDIA and really, I think, come to appreciate our channel and our channel's ability to have access to the design trades as well as the luxury consumer. And so it's really awesome to see this fast growing category that has tremendous excitement in our channel.
Do either of you see a concern with stepping on multiple toes, right? When we're selling AV gear into a space, typically the only toe you're really stepping on might be the designers, right? You're going to battle for space to put a black box up. When it comes to lighting, you have the potential to step on the architect's toes, the electrician's toes, the designer's toes as well. Is there a strategy to navigate that and again, be a value add versus a point of contention?
I don't think that you're always stepping on, and you didn't say the word always, so I'm just saying, I don't think you're always stepping on architects or designers. An interior designer often is not paying attention to the lighting design. And an architect is often also not paying attention to that. They have everything else to worry about. It's not 100% of the time. Sometimes you have those designers or architects that are paying attention and putting it in, whether they have people on staff or they're bringing in the right type of designer or partner. But if you look at the vast majority of luxury residences, from small to medium and large, I think that most of those projects are thoroughly underserved with proper designs and proper hardware specifications. And then with that fixture specification comes a control system. And at the end of the day, those types of technologies, good lighting fixtures, good lighting control, combined and motorized window treatments, it has some of the biggest impact on the technology or the experience that consumer in that home is going to live with and interact with every single day. Like, they may not go into that 2-channel room and listen to that amazing set of tower speakers, but once a week, but they're going to interact with their lighting and their home every single day, all day long. And so I think it's awesome, but you do need to be appreciative or empathetic to the other people on a project that may get their feelings hurt, such as the electrician. And it's really a matter of just designing good partnerships and going to your partner electricians and talking through it. And I've heard many, many stories where the electrician loves doing the electrical work for the bigger projects that result when a lighting designer gets involved. So it's just a matter, I think, of being mindful of the collaborators you have on projects, not being a bull in a china shop, but just being a good, mature professional and doing what's best for the customer. And I think if you focus on what's best for the customer and you're a good partner and collaborator to those around you, I think everything works out, at least most of the time.
Yeah, I was gonna say that to Ron's point, that is all about collaboration. I don't think stepping on their toes is collaborating. And actually, I've been surprised lately on how many people within my industry, especially the ones doing the high-end projects, asking for some context questions about, well, who can I reach out to learn more about the home automation system, including, of course, the lining into the home automation. So it's interesting. I think that is definitely changing, and lining is probably the easiest way to get into a nice home automation project.
Yeah, that's a great point. All right, let's change topics. This comes to us from CE Pro as well. Airzone launches a KNX certified 8.0 Pro controller to enhance HVAC integration in the US. Again, go read through that. It's great for utilizing VRF and mini split HVAC systems on the KNX platform, which is not to say that they don't have the 8.0 available for other standards. They do. We've talked about that before, but this is new with the KNX side. So let me come back to you, Victoria, on this one. What is the benefit of looking at this platform and integrating on the KNX side for specifically for the North American customers who may not be as familiar with KNX?
So it's just an opportunity for the KNX dealers, the new dealers, and the ones that are getting into KNX to now know that they have a way to integrate their HVAC, especially the mini split, the VRF, the heat pumps, the well-known heat pumps now, into their KNX system. So it's true, we haven't seen a lot of KNX lately. I believe that KNX is slowly starting to get some traction within this market. It's not going to be easy because, of course, we have a lot of competitors to KNX, super well positioned. But it's a very good system, widely used in Europe, pretty much the standard in Europe and Asia, and becoming very popular now here. So the iDo KNX has been available in Europe and in other markets for Airzone for a while now, for a few years. And we decided to launch it in North America now as we started to see some need for it for different residential and commercial KNX projects. So we're collaborating with KNX in North America, and we believed that this was a good opportunity for the AV integrators, the dealers of KNX, to know that now they can integrate their Metasplit or the VRF unit into KNX easily using Airzone. However, of course, our iDo Pro that we mentioned in this show many times in the past is our best selling because it's the one that connects to BACnet, to
Yes.
Crestron, to Lutron, to Control4, and these are the most common widely used names. Now we have a specific KNX iDo. We'll see how it sells. We're starting to see more of KNX out there. It's a great system, open source. It works with security, AV, HVAC. So we'll see. And now this is an opportunity for the KNX dealers to seamlessly connect and easily their HVAC.
Yeah, that's a great point. Ron, my first introduction to KNX was being over at ISE, and it was everywhere. Everyone talked about it. It was in every stand. There was all kinds of KNX specific products that I'd never seen a similar option, right? Whereas the 8.0 has, a bunch of different varieties, if you will. What is it going to take for KNX to really make an inroad into the North American market?
Yeah, it's interesting. Just last week, I was in, where was I? I was in San Diego at the AVNation conference. And one of those nights I had dinner with the Legrand team. And the Legrand team was actually talking about some of their integrations with KNX. And in fact, I was raising the question. I was like, I don't hear the name KNX that often. And I also was introduced by KNX over at ISE, and it was everywhere. Every booth had KNX integration or whatnot. And yet here in North America, it's at the moment, at least from my perception, very rare. But yet I'm hearing it more often. So the fact that I heard it last week, the fact that they were then talking about a few success stories of integrators around the country starting to work with it. At the end of the day, the way that most industries work, ours included, ours is not unique in this way, is you get the success story on board. You get that vendor, KNX in this case, or the people that are bringing that technology to market would focus on a successful or an integrator or HTP in any major market and make sure those businesses ultimately become very successful with those products. And if that becomes true, then others in that marketplace will look to them, and ultimately it will grow and expand in that way. So that, by the way, goes for any manufacturer listening. If you want to enter the market and be successful, don't focus on everybody, focus on one or two, and then focus on 5 or 10. And then, very tight focus and very big successes, and then shouting those successes through good, effective marketing and case studies, and ultimately word of mouth from those winners. The people using those technologies will tell their friends. And this industry very much works from word of mouth. If something's working, because so much doesn't work. When something works, they go into the chat rooms on, the various environments, and they tell their friends what works, and then it ultimately spreads. And so I think that's how it will work. I think KNX, or the people behind KNX, and I know very little about the way that whole thing works, but if they wanted to further penetrate the U.S. market, which, I always call it North America. We treat the U.S. and Canada as the same market, really, minus that little exchange rate difference I hear about whenever I talk to Canadian dealers.
Yeah,
that little detail. But outside of that, I mean, North America, you don't see a lot of it yet, but maybe that'll change.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I talk to Canadian dealers, the only ones that are doing it are either in Vancouver on the West Coast, which is heavy Asian influence, or Montreal and Quebec City in Quebec, which is again very French influenced. And they're not necessarily using it because of the technology. They're using it for the products that mirror what they have in their respective home countries, which is fun to watch. All right, let's hit our last story of the day really quickly. This comes to us from Residential Systems and a good friend of the show, Mr. Henry Clifford. Content is king. Some tips and tricks to encourage your team to shoot video on each and every project. He was in a all-hands meeting with their internal marketing guru, and they gave and provided their team members a bunch of easy tips and tricks to shoot videos on every job. And Henry so kindly put it together with 10 simple kind of ideas or shoots that his teammates or team members can do to try and win some pack out. Henry, because I'm talking about the whole thing, I feel like you should send me some pack out as well. So, I'll send you an address for that. Ron, I want to start with you on this, being the marketing guru that you are. Video is one of those things that seems really easy. We always seem to make it significantly harder than it is. How do you go about not overlooking those really simple, easy opportunities to film some great content?
I think you're right. I loved the article from Henry. I loved his breakdown of really good ideas on how to produce video. 10 really quick, cool ideas. I think it was brilliant, very digestible, very easy to read. If anyone wants a really good, quick guide on video, Henry's article is a great piece of content to consume. And it really comes down to those that are listening. They're listening to this, maybe on audio, maybe they're watching us. Your customers are on this thing called social media. First of all, you just have to believe that that's true. And if you believe that that's true, then you want to put out content that represents your business really well, favorably, and you want to put out content that's interesting and fun. And you can certainly write words. Words are good. And words could appeal to the consumer. Words could certainly appeal to AI and Google that's crawling your content. But video, we're in the era of video. Everyone watching or listening, just think about how you're getting sucked into watching your Instagram reels or your YouTube reels or videos or your TikTok videos. You name it, you're getting sucked into the video content. And so if you think about the projects that we as an industry are doing, they're really neat projects. They're interesting. They're interesting at every stage of the project. And, one of Henry's points is like, what's in the van tour? What's in your tech's van is interesting. Mm-hmm. Cutting a hole in a ceiling is interesting. Showing a before and after is interesting. Showing time lapse is interesting. And your techs are interesting. Your people in your showroom that have been doing this forever, they're interesting. They have stories and experiences. And so just like grabbing the iPhone, what I leaned over and grabbed in my bag is this goes with me everywhere. This is a DJI Ohm. So not that you have to spend the $150 to have a gimbal, but to just like have your phone and or to step it up a little bit and have a gimbal and to be able to shoot a little bit of content of projects. It is some of the best content you could, there you go. You got yours too. It's some of the best content you could capture for your marketing in general. By the way, like my iPhone, I have a 14. You can shoot 60 frames per second horizontal video. It looks stunning. It looks stunning on websites.
4K.
4K, 60 frames. It's 442. It's wonderful video. You used to have very expensive gear to shoot great video. You no longer have to have that. Your Android phone or your Apple phone are gonna do everything you need. Can you step it up? Yes, you could step it up. But your iPhone or your Android phone are gonna kill it. And so it really comes down to, I could talk for hours on this. I won't, I promise. But it comes down to leadership agreeing that this is important, finding fun ways to incentivize the techs in the field, maybe giving them some basic training, maybe create games out of it, like the best video of the week wins a prize, best video of the month wins a prize, and ultimately putting that content onto your social feeds. It's gonna, you got to think about, and this gets a bit technical, so I won't go there, but all of the different channels on the social platforms have different purposes in terms of exposure of your brand, from top of the funnel exposure to mid funnel to bottom of the funnel. And the algorithms love video. And so if you're putting out good video and it's fun and informational, and it's ultimately going to do a lot for the brand exposure for your business. It's going to do a lot for the consumer that's trying to do research to figure out, do they hire your firm or the next firm? And so there's just so many reasons to create any sort of social content. And then video is some of the best content.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a great point. Victoria, wrap this up for us. How do you make this, drive for producing video or capturing video is probably a better term. How do you make this a standard operating procedure for your company?
Well, actually, to Ron's point, our iPhones or our phones, they have better quality video than probably many of the award-winning pictures in the 90s and in the 2000s. So it's easy. I mean, it's something simple. We just have to the hardest part, I think, is to get the techs into doing it, right? We cannot be at every single install. We cannot be there. As Ron said, these are beautiful projects and they're interesting. And I'm sure people would like to see these $1 million homes, waterfront, and how how is this getting installed and how does it turn out to be installed, and maybe hiccups that they go through the installation. So it's a matter of looking for ways to engage the techs into doing it, filming this. And maybe some of them will be better with their phones, or some won't mind like going on video and shooting videos as well. Because we know for a fact that customers also like to see people like showing and talking and all that, and just not random stuff. So that is the hardest part, I think, like engaging the techs into doing it. So if there's some sort of reward program or something like that, I'm sure they're going to do it. And a picture is worth 1,000 words. So we can say whatever we want, but people like to see stuff. I mean, we go to a restaurant, I like to see the picture of what I'm going to eat, right? If I'm going somewhere, I want to see what I'm going to see there. And if I'm doing a project, especially this type of projects that involve a lot of planning and they're not inexpensive, then customers would like to see, well, what is going to be the result of all this.
Matt, I was going to just add a comment. I know a friend, an integrator down in Texas, pays a marketing firm locally in his city around $3,000 a month US to go to their projects once a week and shoot video and then cut that video and put that on their social feeds. And so if you just do that math, $3,000 a month times 12 is $36,000 a year, only to shoot video for social 1 day a week. If you think creatively, maybe you could spend $5,000 a year or $10,000 a year incentivizing your techs to actually shoot some of this content. Like, have fun, share. I mean, that's my point is, any business owner listening should not feel it's the obligation of their technician to learn how to be a videographer. It is not their obligation. Like, you own the business. So it's the business owner's asset. And if you want these members of your team to go do this, train them how to do it, give them time to do it, and reward them for doing it. And there's money there to, I would argue, there should be a little pot of gold to share with them or reward them or incentivize them to do that. And everybody wins if they do it.
Yeah, that's a great point. The final two things I'll just kind of tack on the top just because it's me. Go download the Blackmagic camera app. It's on all platforms and it gives you true control over everything. So if you know how to shoot anything, or if there's a look you like, you can achieve it with that on any phone. The other thing, just because I come from a family of lawyers, if you're going to shoot on someone's property, or if you're going to post your employees, make sure that they have signed a photo release, that it's in their employee terms of, services and rights to images and all that jazz. And as always, if you're going to film something at a customer's home, yeah, they've got to sign off on that. Make sure you get that. But that's it. Let's wrap it there. Thank you both so much for joining us. Ron, if people want to connect with you, learn more about One Firefly, where can they do that?
Just visit onefirefly.com, or anyone can find me on LinkedIn.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Victoria, thank you so much for joining us. If people want to connect with you, learn more about Airzone, where can they do that?
AirzoneControl.com. That is the place to go.
Excellent. Thank you again for joining us. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me at Matt D. Scott on Twitter, X, and pretty much every other social platform. But more importantly, please visit AVNation.tv, where you'll find this show as well as a wide variety of other shows with all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out our supporters. We are extremely thankful for their support and ask that you check them out as well. Thanks again for watching. That's all the time we have for this episode of ResiWeek,
the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.